Good. So first of all, thank you all for coming for the Bhagavad Gita class. Will was telling me that he has heard about Bhagavad Gita and but would like to know more about it. So Bhagavad Gita actually is a book of science. The other name for this book is Science of Self-Realization, and it's perfect knowledge. Now, when I'm talking about perfect knowledge, it's important to understand that we, human beings, we are imperfect. Why? Because we have 4 defects. We make mistakes, we are in illusion, we have imperfect senses, and we have tendency to cheat. So if we are imperfect beings, it is not possible for us to come up with perfect knowledge. Perfect knowledge has to come from perfect source. And there are 3 ways to receive knowledge, because knowledge is the basis for everything in life, whether we want to learn music, dancing, karate, just anything, we need knowledge about it. So 3 ways to receive knowledge. One is, I'm going to use some Sanskrit words. It's called pratyaksha praman, which means you believe in something when you see something, like seeing is believing. So that is not a good way to receive, especially the spiritual knowledge. I'll tell you why. If we take a cup of water and we put a stick in it, what does it appear to be? It appears to be crooked. Is the stick crooked? No, it appears to be crooked, right? It's straight. So we cannot go with our senses, like we see something and we believe. No, that's not the way to receive knowledge. The other another way of receiving knowledge is anuman praman, which means there is some guesswork in this. Like, if like when I was in school, we were told that there were 10 planets, because that was the time when they didn't have that powerful instruments to see how many exactly are the planets. But then as we started, becoming more advanced and got some more powerful instruments, then we changed that. We said, no, there are not 10 planets. There are how many? 6, 7? How many planets are there?
They say 8, Gita ji.
8. So what happened to the other 2? They disappeared, right? Because our instruments became more powerful. So that is also not the right way to receive knowledge. Then there is a third way, which is called Shabda Praman, which means word of authority. For instance, I have not seen my father. I've never seen him. Now I want to know who he is. So the best person to tell me who my father is my mother. Even though she will not be able to give me proof, but I have to have faith in her that she is telling the truth who my real father is. So similarly, the scriptures say that this Bhagavad Gita is the mother that can tell us who is our supreme father, who is that father to whom we belong, eternally, not in this life, because we take many lives, right? So the best way is to receive knowledge from authority, word of authority, which is the perfect source, which is the Supreme Lord himself. So in this material world, our knowledge that we gain is called an ascending process, which means we get some knowledge, then we add on some more knowledge to it, then we add on some more knowledge based on whatever the circumstances are. Maybe it's the scientists who come up with more knowledge or whatever. But the perfect knowledge comes from above, and that is called the descending process, where the Supreme Lord gives the knowledge down in the strict disciplic succession. For instance, I want to put my son in college, or say in school, right? The first thing I will do is get knowledge, do some research and find out which is the certified school, which is that school which is connected to the board of education, right? I don't want to, my friend says, hey, I have opened a school in my backyard. Why don't you put your son in my school? Would I do that? No, because the backyard school is not connected with the board of education. So we go for authority, right? So here, Bhagavad Gita is is a book of authority, and I'll explain to you how. When I come through chapter 4, I will be able to give you how it is a word of authority, and here is the proof. I'll show it to you afterwards. So the Bhagavad Gita, which actually Bhagavad means God and Gita means song. So it's a song of God. It is spoken by God Himself, and it is like a manual for this human form of life. Just like I buy a new car, along with it comes an owner's manual, right? That tells me what gas to use, how to use it, what are the different features, etc. Similarly, this Bhagavad Gita is a manual for human beings. It tells us how to live our human form of life. So this Bhagavad Gita basically deals with 5 subject matters. Who is God? Who are we, the spirit soul? What is material nature? What is eternal time? And what is karma? I'm sure we all have heard about the word karma, but most of us really don't know what karma is, and that there are 3 kinds of karma, right? We've only heard about one karma, but there are 3 kinds of karma. I'll cover that when we go to chapter 3. So the foundation of this book of science is to understand the difference between the body and the soul. There is a huge difference. Just like I'm wearing this garment, right? I'm wearing this garment. This is not me. This is just a covering on my body, right? This is a garment. Similarly, this body is a garment that is covering the soul. The soul is within the heart and the body is covering it. So we should understand that there's a difference between this body and the soul, which is situated in the heart. I'm not sure if any of you have heard about a scientist by the name Harry Monson. And he, with his research, figured out that the value of this body after the soul leaves the body, that means when this body is dead, the value of this body is $5.60. Can you imagine this body, which we are so attached to, which is our life and soul, which we decorate and we feed and we make it enjoy and do everything? This body has value as long as the soul is inside the body. Once the soul leaves the body, it's only $5.60. So this Bhagavad Gita, the science, teaches us that our position, who we really are, what is our position in relationship with the Supreme Lord. And to really understand this, it's important to have faith. In anything that we want to do, we have to have faith. I usually use this example. For instance, I don't have a car and I want to take Marta from point A to point B. Now I'm standing at the bus stop waiting for the bus to come. And when the bus arrives and the door opens, and I'm like, does this driver have a driver's license? I wonder if there is enough gas in the bus. I wonder if he knows to take me to my destination. Will I go anywhere? No. I have to have faith that Marta is a certified, is a bona fide, it's a recognized entity, and they make sure that the drivers have a license and they know what is the route they need to take. So also for Bhagavad Gita, we need to have that faith that this Bhagavad Gita was spoken by Krishna, who is understood to be the supreme God. And I'll explain to you why. Because the scriptures, this is called a scripture. The scriptures, they give us knowledge about who is God, right? So here in the Bhagavad Gita itself, it is mentioned in Sanskrit, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. What does that mean? Uvacha means spoken. Who spoke it? Shri Bhagwan. Bhagwan means the Supreme Lord. That means this Bhagavad Gita is spoken by the Supreme Lord himself, right? But there are many references from scriptures that tell us that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. So this Bhagavad Gita actually was spoken 120 million years ago. And you can figure that out when you go to chapter 4 of Bhagavad Gita and read verse 1 and 2. In that, there is the whole calculation given. And this Bhagavad Gita was re-spoken 5,000 years ago. So here, this Bhagavad Gita is actually, as I was telling you, is a manual for human form. It's important to understand that this human form is very rare. There are 8.4 million species of lives according to the scriptures, and out of that, only 400,000 species are human forms, not the population, but different species of human forms. So it's very, very rare human form, and only the human beings have philosophical intelligence to understand the science of self-realization. I cannot invite cats and dogs and explain this to them, because they will not understand. They just have a little bit of intelligence to understand where to get the food from, where to sleep, or some very basics. But we can understand based on knowledge. So let me give you a small overview of what we have covered from chapter 1 through 12. A very basic. Then, of course, once we finish the 18 chapters, then we'll go back to one, again. So it'll be like a cycle, so you won't really miss anything. So in chapter 1, I'm not sure if y'all are aware of the huge war that had taken place called the Mahabharat in a place called Kurukshetra in India, where the religious and the irreligious were at war. And obviously the religious are going to win the war because the Supreme Lord is on the side of the religious people. So chapter 1 actually describes the whole the scene, the war scene, what's going on the war field. And there is confusion, there's lamentation, there is one, so this Bhagavad Gita was spoken by Krishna to his very dear friend and disciple called Arjuna. Arjuna was a religious and a devotee of the Lord, and he was lamenting that he doesn't want to fight this war because so many people will be killed unnecessarily. But then, the Lord explains to him, he re-speaks this Bhagavad Gita on the battlefield to explain to Arjuna that this war is necessary because irreligious people need to be punished. Just like, let me give you an example. In India, we used to drive a car on the left side, correct? Right side? No. Left side. I said, yeah. Oh, okay. Left side. I have a family here at home. Correct. So I said left and you said right. You meant it is correct, but I thought right, no. So in India, we drove car on the left side. But when I came to Georgia, can I say, oh no, I'm used to driving on the left side, so I'm going to drive on the left side? What is going to happen? Either I'll die in an accident, or the cops are going to put me in jail or give me a ticket, right? Because I am breaking the law. The law of state of Georgia is to drive on the right side. So I have to follow the laws of the state. Similarly, we need to follow the laws of God. And Arjuna was being explained by the Supreme Lord himself, Krishna, that this war is necessary because the irreligious people need to be punished for being so irreligious. Now, chapter 2 is actually the real Bhagavad Gita starting. Where is the foundation of this book? And the foundation is, I am not this body, but I am the spirit soul. I'm going to quote some Sanskrit verses you may not understand, but just to give you references from the chapter, what the Supreme Lord is talking about. He says, Dehi no asmin yatha dehe kaumaram yovanam jara tatha dehantara praptir dhiras tatra na mohyati. What does that mean? He says, as the embodied soul continuously passes from boyhood to youth to old age, similarly, the soul passes on to another body at the time of death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. You see, a sober person. Who is a sober person? Not someone who is like, no. A sober person is one who has knowledge, who understands that, okay, say for instance, today I leave this body, my soul leaves this body. So my husband, being a sober person, knows she is not dead. She is just gone to hopefully back to the spiritual world, or if not, has gone into another body, right? So that difference is very important to understand, that I am not this body, but I am the spirit soul. Chapter 3 talks about karma yoga. We've heard about both these names, karma and yoga, but we actually most of the time do not understand what exactly it means. Krishna says, Yagnarthat karmano nyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha tad artham karma kantaya mukta sangha samachara. He says, work done as a sacrifice for the Lord has to be performed. Otherwise, work causes bondage. Now, who likes to be bound? If my hands and my legs are tied and there is scotch tape on my mouth, that is misery, right? We want to be free, but if we do not work according to the laws of the Lord, then we get bound, we are in bondage. So there Krishna teaches us that in this chapter 3, how to work in such a way that we neither do good nor we do bad. Now the question will be, why not good? It's good to do good, right? No, it's not good. It's not good enough to be good. No. Why? Because you must have heard about every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Have you heard that? Who has discovered that? Who said that?
Newton's third law.
Newton? No, it's God's law. Newton took the credit for it, that he has discovered it. The Lord has given this to us 120 million years ago. Every action has a reaction. So if we do good, we get good reactions. But you may say, what's the problem with that? The problem is, if we do good and we collect good reactions, which means the Lord has to send us back to this material world to give us the, what is that called? Faida? No. To reap the benefits of good reactions. See, good actions we've done, so He has to give us something good in return. What could that be? It could be we are born very rich, we are born very beautiful, we are born in an aristocratic family, we are born in president's home. It could be anything, right? To give us the, so that we can reap the benefits. But we don't want that. We want to break this cycle of action and reaction. We don't want to do good, we don't want to do bad. Now the question will be, then what should we do? Does that mean we don't do anything? Nope. That means we have to do something which is called not karma, but a karma. A karma means we do activities according to the laws of the Supreme Lord and do not desire the fruits of those activities, right? So for instance, I want to, give something in charity. You know what? I want to give $100,000 to this charitable institution, but I want them to put my name on the front door, engraved in gold, you know, $100,000 donated by so and so. No, that is trying to get the fruits of my activities. No, we have to perform activities without desiring the fruits of those activities, because based on what actions we have performed before, we are going to get rewarded, whether it's good or it's bad. That we cannot change, but we can definitely improve the future by the activities that we perform now. Chapter 4 is a very important chapter like all others, but chapter 4 gives us the history of the Bhagavad Gita. How old is it? As I mentioned earlier, right? Krishna says the very first verse of chapter 4, Imam Vivasvati Yogam Proktavam Aham Avyayam. He says, I spoke this knowledge first to the sun god Vivaswan, and if we calculate the ages, so there are 4 ages. There is Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, and Kali Yuga. So these are the 4 ages that we go through the whole cycle. And right now we are in Kali Yuga, the very last age. So the age that we are in right now, Kali Yuga, the duration is 432,000 years, out of which we have crossed only 5,000. So we have 427,000 years still to go before the next age is going to come in, right? So Krishna spoke this Bhagavad Gita 120 million years ago, but Krishna says, Evam parampara praptam imam rajarshiha vidu sakalena hamata yogo nashtaha parantapa. Nashtaha means destroyed. He says, gradually this knowledge that he gave millions of years ago started getting destroyed. So he re-spoke it 5,000 years ago to his dear friend and disciple Arjuna in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, which is in India. So one may say, excuse me, that why is it that, the Lord spoke this to his disciple? Why is it that, he had to become a teacher? He wanted to set an example. Evam parampara praptam. Parampara means disciplic succession. It comes down, as I was saying, it comes down from the spiritual world in the descending process from the Supreme Lord down in through the spiritual masters. So when we open the Bhagavad Gita introduction last page, we will see that there is a list of all the spiritual masters. Like Krishna spoke it to Brahma, Brahma spoke it to Narada, Narada spoke it to Vyasadev, Vyasadev, so like this, the whole disciplic succession was coming down from 120 million years, and then continued from 5,000 years. And then it came down to Prabhupada, who gave us the translations and purports and called it Bhagavad Gita as it is, which means there are no interpretations, there are no speculations, there are no opinions. It's coming down as it is, it was received. That is the beauty of this disciplic succession, where the authenticity of the data is maintained. And just like when I'm speaking, when I am explaining the Bhagavad Gita, I'm not adding or subtracting my opinions. I am simply repeating what I heard from my guru. He gave me the knowledge from his guru, and it goes all the way up to the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna. Why do we need a guru? Why do we need a teacher? My question would be, why do we need a teacher for music or for karate or whatever we want to learn in this world? Why do we send our children to school to a teacher, and that to a certified bona fide teacher? Why? Because we know that the knowledge that will be given to them is going to be bona fide. So when it comes to understanding ourselves, we should also take this knowledge coming down from the perfect source. Now, chapter 5 is a repetition of Karma Yoga. Now, one may say, why? Why is the Lord talking about Karma Yoga again? Because it is very, very important. And this is the only subject matter which has 2 chapters to it. It's important because our work is going to decide our destination after death. Death is the final examination. So in chapter 5, Krishna says that if we perform a karma, which is follow the scriptures, follow the laws of the Supreme Lord, and do not desire the fruits of it, then we will be able to reach our final destination. He says it's important to understand Bhoktaram Yagna Tapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwara Suritam Sarvabhutnanam Natmamam Shantim Richati. What is the purpose of yoga? Shanti, which is peace of mind, right? We all, does anyone here want peace of mind? Please raise your hands if you want peace of mind. That means you don't have it. If you want it, means you don't have it, right? Here, here is a peace formula. Excuse me. I'm so excited that I'm choking. Why am I choking? Because I have experienced it. I have been teaching this for 35 years, and it is, as they say, um, the proof of the pudding is in its tasting, right? Only when you taste it, you'll say, yum, that is so yummy. But if you don't taste it, you will not know how tasty it is, right? So this Bhagavad Gita gives us the peace formula. Now, if we go to chapter number 6, it is Dhyana Yoga. Dhyana means meditation. But people unfortunately think meditation means you sit down quietly, close your eyes, and fall asleep. That is not meditation. Meditation for this age is mantra meditation. Man means mind, and tra means to free the mind. So mantra actually frees the mind, because in this age we are very unlucky, misguided, lazy, unfortunate. Should I go on? There are many more disqualifications, right? So our mind is working 24/7. Even when we are asleep, it's working. So how do we control the mind? How do we make the mind peaceful? It's only by sound vibration. When we chant the mantra, then that goes into the ears. Those sound vibrations, they go straight into the heart, and it starts purifying the heart. That is the meditation for this age. Krishna says in the last verse of chapter 6, he says, Yogi nam api sarvesham madgati nantar atmana. He says the topmost yogi, the topmost person who's practicing yoga is who thinks of me within the heart. It's not possible to think of the Lord all the time. The only way is with the sound vibrations. When the heart starts getting purified, then we are able to think about the Lord. Now let's go to chapter number 7. Chapter number 7 is talking about 4 kinds of people who come to the Lord and 4 kinds of people who do not come to the Lord, right? No mam dushkriti no mudha prapadyante naradhama. 4 kinds who do not come to the Lord. Who are these? Those who are grossly foolish, those whose intelligence is lost, those who are demoniac in nature, want to do all sinful activities. And so there are different, these people, they don't want to come, they don't even want to hear about the Lord. But then the good news is there are 4 kinds of people who want to know, who am I? Where have I come from? What am I doing here? What is the ultimate goal of life? Am I just, like, for instance, I pick up the car keys and I tell my husband, I'm going. He says, where? I don't know. That makes no sense. I need to know, where am I going? I need to know, I need to use GPS, I need to find out, right? I cannot just randomly take my car and just go anywhere. No. Similarly, we cannot randomly live our life. Oh, I don't know where I'm going to go. No. We have to have a goal in life. What is that goal in life? The goal should be that we need to break this cycle that we've been going on and on and on for many, many lifetimes. Birth, disease, old age, death. Again, birth, disease, old age, death. For how long? We need to break this cycle. So this Bhagavad Gita teaches us that how we can come out of this cycle and go to a place where there is no misery at all. There are 7 kinds of miseries. I just mentioned 4 of them: birth, disease, old age, death. But then there are 3 other kinds of miseries. Miseries caused by our body and mind, miseries caused by others, which we think is too much to handle sometimes, right? And miseries caused by the material nature. Right now, there is misery is caused by other living entities, and that is COVID-19, right? That's also a living entity that has struck us, and that's misery for us. Why? We have to wear masks, and we are all waiting to take the mask off as soon as we are home, right? We are mm, forced to stay at home. We cannot do the things that we want to do. That is also a misery, right? So here Bhagavad Gita is teaching us how we can break the cycle of misery. Chapter 8, Krishna talks about how to attain the spiritual world. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam त्यजत ante kalevaram tam tam eveti kantaya sada tad bhava bhavitaha. What does that mean? Krishna says, whoever thinks of him at the time of death, that is where he will go. So if I'm thinking of something material, if I'm thinking of family, or if I'm thinking of my pets or whatever, that's where I'm going to come back. But Krishna says, if we are thinking of the Supreme Lord at the time of death, we will go to him, to the spiritual world, from where we do not come back into this miserable material world. Now one may say, I can do whatever I want to do throughout my life, but at the time of death, I'm going to think of God and I'll go back to him. Nope, it doesn't work that way. Does it? If the student is not going to study the whole year and expect to go to the next grade, no, the student has to work for it throughout the year. So also throughout our lifetime, we need to follow the laws of the Supreme Lord. We need to follow the rules and regulations. Otherwise, we will not be able to pass the examination at the time of death. In chapter number 9, Krishna talks about, he gives the most confidential knowledge. He tells us how we can improve our life. Even now in this body, we can improve, become happy and peaceful, and live a life which is free of sins, which is like preparing ourselves to be successful at the time of death. He says, Yat karoshi, yat ashnashi, yat juhoshi dadashi. He said, whatever you do, whatever thing or charity you give, whatever work you do, whatever you give away, whatever it is, whatever practice you do that as an offering unto the Supreme Lord. Then there will be no reactions at all. And chapter 10 talks about the Lord's opulences. And he says, Aham Sarvasya Prabhu. He says, everything emanates from me. We have heard this phrase which says that we are children of God, right? That means he is our supreme father. So and he says, Mamay Vamsha Jivaloke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana, that we all are parts of the Supreme Lord. We are his children and we are eternal. And he's talking about the spirit, soul, not these bodies. So he says, everything comes from me, everything emanates from me, everything belongs to me. Now, if supposing my father is very, very rich and I want freedom, I don't want to live in his house with all those rules and regulations. I want freedom, like how teenagers, right? As soon as they pass high school, I am out. I want to go. I want to live my life the way I want to. So no one can tell me, sit down, stand up, eat, do this. No, I want my freedom. That's who we are. We wanted freedom from our Supreme Father, and that is where we are right now. We see the teenagers struggling, right? Doing 2 jobs to make ends meet and study and do this and do that. When you have a rich father, why would you want to struggle, right? Our Supreme Father is the richest father in this entire creation. And he wants us back. He wants his children back. So that's why he has given us this Bhagavad Gita, so we can somehow or the other be peaceful while in this body and then be successful at the time of death. Chapter 11, now up to chapter 10, Krishna has given the theoretical knowledge that I am the Supreme Lord, and from me comes everything. You are my children, you are the spirit soul, everything. It's all theory. But chapter 11 is practical. where he shows his universal form to Arjuna, his disciple. He shows that it's so gigantic that we cannot even imagine. And in that, his disciple Arjuna can see everything. He can see the whole creation in the body of the Lord. So, why did the Lord show that universal form? So that if I say, hey, Will, I'm God, will you believe me? Come on, you should. I'm your friend. You should be. Ah, I thought you were my friend. You have to believe me. No, you should tell me, okay, if you are God, show your universal form, right? There has to be some proof. So if anyone comes and says, I'm God, we cannot take their word. They have to prove that they are God. So that's why Krishna showed his universal form to tell us that he is the Supreme Lord. That brings us to the final chapter for today, which is chapter 12, which we covered. We finished last week, and that is called devotional service. And in that, Krishna is telling us how to perform the devotional service. How? Because our constitutional position is that of a servant. I know we don't like that word servant. We want to be the Lord and the master, but actually we are. Now you may say, I am not a servant. We are. We are serving our senses. If we have spouse, we are serving our spouse. We are serving family. We are serving kids. We are serving our boss. We are serving our friends. We are serving our society. We are serving our country. We are serving. So what do you call those who serve? Servant, right? And that is what the Lord is saying, that our constitutional position is that of a servant. And if we add devotion to that service, then we become peaceful, right? Simple as that. So he gives options to us what we can do. First, he says, fix your mind upon me. If we cannot fix the mind on the Lord, then he says, you follow the laws of God, right? The rules and regulations. He says, if that's also not possible, work for me. If that's not possible, give up the results of your work, right? If we give up the results of our work, there are no reactions. If we cannot even do that, then finally he says, then cultivate knowledge. Take some knowledge. Try and understand. Try and understand what's the purpose of human life. Purpose of human life is to inquire, right? We want happiness, but we don't know from where to get it, right? But Bhagavad Gita has answers to all the questions, and it also tells us B, C, D. B for birth, D for death, and C for choice. So between birth and death, we have choice. We make a choice. What do we want to do? I want to be miserable. I'm happy being miserable, or I want to be really happy, right? So unfortunately, and right now in this material world, we have big houses, small families. We have more degrees, but less common sense. We have advanced medicine, but still poor health, right? We have advanced medicine, but still poor health. We have high income, but less peace of mind. We have good knowledge, but less wisdom. What is wisdom? When knowledge is put into practice, it becomes wisdom. So we just have knowledge, but practice we've forgotten. So there is no wisdom, right? We have lots of human beings, but there's less humanity. We have costly watches, but there is no time. We have no time for anything, right? But we need to stop and think. What is the purpose? Do I still want to go round and round and round, birth, death, birth, death? I enjoy going through this Ferris wheel. Now, we need to stop before we become unconscious, and we need to come out of the cycle of birth and death. I know it was a very long one. We usually finish in 30, 40 minutes, but today it's been an hour. I'm sorry about that. But if any of you have any questions,